I'm so in love with you.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, this is going to be a serious story time. I'm going to be sharing with you guys my experience being in a narcissistic relationship. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. You may want to get comfy and grab a snack. Ever since I started my YouTube channel over a year ago, I always knew that I was going to film this video. But honestly, I was scared to make this video for a long time. I'm still a little nervous to talk about it. This is without a doubt going to be the most vulnerable video on my channel, but that's why I'm making it. I am a firm believer in the power of sharing your story with other people. That is what I am gonna do today. Before I jump into this story, I do have some disclaimers that I need to give. The first one is that I guess I'm gonna give a bit of a trigger warning. I am gonna talk about some things that are honestly kind of traumatic in this video. If you do not think that you're emotionally in a place where maybe you can relive narcissistic trauma or something like that, then this may be a video that you want to come back to at a later time in your life. Also, I am only sharing this story for one reason, and that is to help and empower people who are either in a narcissistic relationship or healing from a narcissistic relationship. If anyone in the comment section leaves any type of victim shaming comment, any type of bullying or negativity like that, it's gonna be deleted, you're gonna be blocked. I'm not gonna tolerate that in the comment section. If you have never been involved with a narcissist or any type of manipulative relationship, then you simply just don't understand. It's really, really easy for people to say, well, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you notice the red flags? It just doesn't work that way. And if you've been in one of these situations or you know a narcissist, then you already have an understanding of that. I'm not even going to get too deep into that, but the level of strategic, orchestrated manipulation that goes into these types of relationships from the narcissist, you're set up to be trapped. It isn't that easy to just walk away. So if you have that type of mindset, if you victim shame, get off my channel. I don't want you here. Another couple things I want to mention. First being, was I an angel in the relationship? No. What happens a lot with narcissistic relationships is that the narcissist puts you in a place where they're treating you really, really horribly. So any person in their right mind would get up and walk away. But at the same time, like I said, they have orchestrated and manipulated you to the point where you're stuck. So you're being treated really poorly, but you are trapped. You can't leave for a multitude of reasons. You're manipulated, okay? It's not your fault. But so what happens a lot is when you're being treated poorly, but you also can't leave, you then start to take on a lot of the traits of the narcissist, which means you start to retaliate to their abuse. You will start acting in a way that is out of character. You will do things that you would normally never do. Because if we're going to be real here, from this person's narcissistic point of view, I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean? And I don't even know why I feel the need to justify this. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because what happens a lot in these types of relationships is you, the victim, end up feeling and questioning if you are the narcissist. And I'm here to tell you that you're not. And you can prove to yourself that you're not a narcissist by one simple thing. A narcissist isn't capable of doing that type of self-reflection. They aren't capable of having empathy or feeling guilt for the things that they do. So they go around and treat people terribly, and they never once stop and say like, oh, I feel bad for doing this. Like, am I a narcissist? No. So if you're questioning if you're the narcissist, that's a pretty good indicator that you're not. Now, the last thing I want to mention before we jump into this video, and I guess I'm going to give another little miniature trigger warning here because this can be kind of a really difficult and traumatic thing to process. That is that when you find yourself in a relationship with a narcissist, the sad and ugly and evil truth is that you were chosen by the narcissist. Narcissists go after and look for specific types of people. They look for people who are vulnerable. So whether you're in like a vulnerable financial situation, or maybe you are vulnerable because of a relationship you recently got out of where you were abandoned, or maybe you were cheated on. You're vulnerable because you just have emotional trauma from your past. What they do in the grooming process and in the beginning stages of getting to know you is they start to find the different vulnerabilities that you have, and then they use those to their advantage. Like if you share with them things about your past, maybe you've had like a traumatic past as far as relationships go, the narcissist pays really close attention to the types of things that you tolerated in the past, because now they have kind of an idea of how they're going to be able to manipulate you. They look for people who are vulnerable. They also look for people with a lot of empathy, with a lot of compassion. This is why there's this bizarre phenomenon between narcissists and empaths, because narcissists lack empathy. So these people prey on people that are empaths or highly empathic, people who are very compassionate, people who have a lot of love to give, people who like to help and heal people. That is music to a narcissist's ear because they know that they can take advantage of you. It's really easy to take advantage of people who have a lot of empathy if that person doesn't have strong boundaries in place. And you're gonna see exactly what I mean from the very beginning of this story. From the first meeting I had with this person, you're gonna see right off the bat where I truly lacked boundaries. You were chosen to be the narcissist's narcissistic supply. They're not gonna go for somebody who is like really stable, really emotionally stable, can stand on their own 2 feet. No, they're looking for people that they can easily take advantage of and then use. You are being used. And I'm not trying to make you feel like crap. It's the truth that you need to know. You need to understand the harsh reality of these types of relationships. Okay, so now it's time to get into this story. I was in this relationship for about 1.5 years. A lot of shit went down in that 1.5 years. A big part of the reason why I'm telling this story is because, like I just mentioned, you were chosen by the narcissist. And I feel that my story is a very eye-opening example of what I mean when I say you were chosen. Kind of shocking example of that. All right, so let's get into this story. So when I first met this person, I had a pretty bad habit of going for men who were never good for me, whether it's that they were like toxic and liars and cheaters, or people who really needed to be saved, right? I always tried to save people. So I had plenty of like built up trauma that I had never really dealt with upon meeting this person. I met this person randomly one day in a grocery store, actually. I had never seen this person in my life. They walked past me and threw out some stupid pickup line, or I don't know what it was. And then I bumped into them again a little bit later in the grocery store. And this person started talking to me. And right off the bat, this person was not my type. He was very like business professional, which really wasn't my type. Like I didn't find him attractive, honestly. Physically, because it's the first impression, and physically I wasn't into it. I knew he was gonna hit on me. I knew he was gonna ask for my number. You know, you can tell when a guy's about to like ask you out or something. I wasn't in the mood to get hit on in the middle of a grocery store. Was I initially attracted to him? No, but he was a likable person. He was, you know, he came off as mature and very well put together, and he seemed very responsible, and you know, I got that vibe from him. And he was charming to an extent, but still, I was truly not interested. So now here's where my lack of boundaries, you're gonna see this right off the bat, beginning of this story. He asked me if he could take me out sometime. And then he asked if he could have my phone number. Now here's what happened. In my head, in that moment, because I lacked boundaries, I justified in my head, he wants your phone number. If you give him your phone number, he's gonna leave, because that's what he wants. Give him your number, and if he texts you, you never have to respond. So that right there, I lack boundaries. I wasn't interested in this guy. Where I'm at now, if somebody hit on me and I wasn't interested in them, I would have no problem just saying, sorry, I'm not interested, like have a good day, and walking away. But back then, I didn't have boundaries. And having boundaries is the ability to say no. I didn't have that. So I justified in my head, give him your number. You never have to respond to him. He'll be out of your hair. The next day, I think it was, he sends me a text. I think I responded once and then I went about my day. I kind of was like, I wasn't into him. Whatever, how many days later, he sent me a text. And in the text, he said something that was very funny. Had I had boundaries and not given him my phone number, I wouldn't even find myself in a situation where I'm looking at this text and I was like, oh, this guy has a sense of humor. And I could see in his text messages, I could see his humor, I could see his charm, okay? And he got me. Him being funny and charming led me to respond, okay? So now I'm like, maybe I will talk to this guy. So we start texting and great conversation. Obviously, he's a narcissist. These people are incredibly likable. They're very charming. And to the outside world, they put on a show like you've never seen. I always say that narcissists are the most phenomenal actors and actresses in the whole world. He presented himself as this stand-up guy, right? He volunteered in the community, okay? Which he didn't. You know what I mean? Later on down the line, he didn't. It was all a facade. It was all a show. So he asks me out on a date and I agree to go to dinner with him. And of course, he, wants to go to like this great restaurant, because one of the things that you find very common with narcissists, you need to understand this. Narcissists are the most insecure people on the planet, okay? If you think you're insecure, be grateful you're not a narcissist. These people have such a lack of self-love and self-esteem that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, they do go on to be very successful in their careers. Because number one, they're con artists. So these people have spent their whole life manipulating and putting on a show and presenting themselves in a way that's just not actually real. But then they also will be driven to succeed financially and in their career because that's something that actually makes them feel good. So it's this material and superficial sense of worth because they don't have any actual worth. Narcissists will take you out to dinner, buy you nice gifts. They want to take you on vacation, So we go out to dinner and again, we have great conversation, but I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I have learned, obviously, I've learned a lot since this, but back then, I was such an open book. You can obviously tell I'm an open book. I have a YouTube channel where I'm spilling all of like the secrets of my life. I see the good in people. I choose to believe the good in people. So if I meet you and I don't know you and you start telling me about yourself and about your life, I'm gonna believe what you say. That's another thing. Being with a narcissist, you learn how to use your intuition. If you tell me things about yourself, then I'm going to trust you until you give me a reason not to, right? Anyways, our first date was great. Great conversation because these people are smooth criminals. Like these people they're con artists. They are fraudulent, okay? So then we went out for drinks after dinner. We ended up sitting and talking until 2:00 in the morning and we had a great time. But we started seeing each other. And the more I spent time with him, the more I started to see like, wow, this guy really has his shit together. Again, like set in his career, financially secure, like he seems really mature. And here I am thinking to myself, well, I need stability. I need a stable person. Maybe this guy will be good for me. I need someone who's mature. That is what made me kind of start to fall for him. So we start seeing each other. Right off the bat, here's where the red flags begin. This is what I mean when I say you really learn to trust your intuition being in a relationship with these people. So he had posted like a picture of us, like a selfie on his Snapchat story, right? And here I am like, oh my gosh, he likes me. Like he's putting it on his Snapchat story. A typical idiot. The next day, he proceeds to tell me about how one of his ex-girlfriends, who he is still friends with, she saw the picture of us and she immediately contacted him to let him know that she was jealous. So red flag number one, why are you doing that? He was trying to make me insecure and jealous by telling me that some other girl is jealous. I'm not even kidding. As soon as that happened, my intuition was like, abort mission. Nope. I knew My soul knew. Now, this girl went on to be a pawn that he used throughout the entirety of the relationship. He was always making sure that I knew that she was texting him, she was snapping him, she was doing this, she was doing that, but we're just friends. She has a boyfriend now, she moved out of state, blah, 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 blah. He would constantly talk about girls from his past, and part of the narcissist's like manipulation and con that they do is they always paint themselves out to be not the bad guy. So he would tell me stories about his past relationships, and it was always like, she broke my heart, she did this. In one of his past relationships, he told me about how, because I asked, like, why did that relationship end? And get ready for this one. He was like, well, honestly, I cheated on her, and I felt so bad that I went home the next day and I told her. And so she, she didn't want to be with me. She left me. Now, here I am, naive and being manipulated, thinking, wow, what a stand-up guy. Wow, it takes a lot of balls to go and admit to someone that you cheated. I ended up finding out later on down the road that that's not what happened. She went through his email, found out that he cheated on her, and then confronted him about it. And that's why she left him. He started to out himself. So he would always have these stories, and he was never the bad guy in the stories. And then later on down the line, he would, because narcissists live a lie, okay? Everything's this big theatrical performance. None of it's true. They lie about everything. So I would find out later, because he'd slip up on his words. I would end up finding out the truth, and I would be like, but didn't you say that, like, it happened this way? Anyways, he was always trying to make me jealous with other girls, and it worked. I was in a place where I was super insecure, and I always compared myself to other women. It made me chase him and grip onto him because I was like, you need to be mine. You know what I mean? When I should have walked away. Because first of all, ladies, gentlemen, if somebody is constantly trying to make you jealous, no, you leave. Okay, that's not normal. It's not normal behavior. That's manipulation, first of all. You just don't use other people to try and make the person that you care about jealous, period. But the problem is, one of the problems is that he drove me to the point of being so jealous and so insecure that I then turned into someone that I'm not. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I then became the crazy, controlling girlfriend. That's what he wanted, okay? So now I'm crazy, I'm controlling. So then these ex-girlfriends that would pop up, that would text him, it's like, first of all, you're not that great. Like, you're keeping communication open with these people from your past. It's not like you want nothing to do with everyone and they're just texting you. Like, no. First, it would start out with me being like, I don't really feel comfortable that, like, you still talk to this girl. Like, you're telling me she's jealous of us. You're painting her out as, like, someone who still has feelings for you. So, like, it makes me uncomfortable that you still talk to her. He would always just be like, well, we're just friends. We're just friends. He would never consider my feelings. Duh. And it got to the point where now I'm psycho. And I'm telling him, like, stop talking to her. I'm going to go off on this girl. Stop talking to her. Block her. Tell her that you're in a relationship now. But he would never do it. He was never gonna do it. This was part of the plan. He used it as a way to torture me. He wanted to make me jealous. He wanted to make me needy and insecure. This is what these people do. It's a manipulation tactic. And it's a tactic to break your self-esteem down so that way you stay with them. Like, it's so messed up. But anyways, now I'm being the crazy girlfriend. That's what he wanted, because then he could use that against me. So he played this innocent role. Nothing's my fault. You're crazy, right? That's what narcissists do. They drive you to the point of insanity, and then they say, you're crazy. And it's like, no, you gaslighted and manipulated me and, like, mentally and emotionally abused me to the point where anyone would be crazy. And then he would also be really shitty. Like, he always just had to make me feel bad. So he would be like, I hang out with people who are millionaires, and I don't really know if, like, you're up to the standard. Like, I can't really bring you around these millionaire business owners that I roll with. This guy didn't have that much money, okay? Like, he thought he had money. He didn't have real money, okay? He was always just bringing me down, making me feel like shit to the point where I went crazy. Now, what does he do? He cheats on me. He would cheat on me all the time. I would find out about it. And again, you think that a normal person, if you get cheated on, you're like, screw you, I'm out. No. I was so badly manipulated and trapped at this point. You end up becoming addicted to this idea of winning them back over. It's an addiction. It literally is. I would catch him red-handed. Like, girls would straight up tell me, like, detail by detail about how he slept with them. In typical narcissist fashion, you can come to them with literal proof of something they did. They still are like, I didn't do that. You can't win with a narcissist, okay? It's like they have no shame. So if you call them out on something, they will stand there with a straight face and be like, I never said that. I didn't do that. You're crazy. It drives you to the point of insanity. This is gaslighting. They make you question your reality. They make you feel like the crazy one. They're not delusional. They know what they're doing. So anyways, he would cheat on me and then reel me back in. Take me to dinner, wants to talk, I love you, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter if they cheat on you. It's your fault. It's your fault. Somewhere along the line, I then moved in with this person, because here's the thing with these relationships. It's not always miserable. It's a roller coaster. So it's these high highs and these really low lows, and you become addicted. It really is like a drug addict. I was completely brainwashed. I was brainwashed. Things just got progressively worse. Got to the point where I was walking on eggshells at all time. I wasn't allowed to be myself. We were going out and I wasn't wearing short shorts and a skimpy top with my boobs out. He would be like, make comments about how like I'm not sexy enough for him. It's just mental and emotional abuse. Straight up. I was always talked down to. It was always like condescending. I was always made to feel like a literal piece of dirt on the floor. Now let's kind of get to the part of the story where, okay, we're nearing the end now. Now we're getting closer to the end of the relationship. So for the first year plus, it was just everything that I just said. It was just a repeating cycle of that. There was one night, and I can't remember if this was definitely close to the time where I finally left him. We went out, we're having a great time. One thing leads to another, and we're fighting. We're at a bar, we're fighting. In the parking lot, I get pissed, and I get out of the car. Now, it's like freezing outside. I get out of the car, he speeds away. I started walking to his house, which like wasn't necessarily close, but I walked all the way there. It's freezing. I'm thinking he's gonna be home, okay? I'm thinking by the time I walk to his house, he's gonna be home. Well, I get there, he wasn't. My car was parked outside, but my keys were inside the house and the house was locked. My phone was at like 5%. So I call him and I'm like, where are you? Like, how are you not here? I walked here. Like, where are you? Hangs up on me. I must have called him like 30 times. Just hang up, forward the call. And I'm starting to panic because I'm freezing, first of all. I can't get in the house. I can't get my keys to get in my car to even just turn the heat on or go somewhere. And he's like not coming home. And anytime he did answer the phone, I could hear he was at a bar. Whenever he did answer the phone, I'm like, please come home. Like, can you just at least drive by and open the garage? Like, my phone's about to die. It's at 1%. My phone's about to die. I'm freezing. Like, I don't have my keys. Like, I'm just stuck outside your house. I don't know how much time passed, but it got to the point, and this is why I said trigger warning. It got to the point where my phone had died and I was like freezing to death. It was like winter and I didn't know what to do. Like, my body was weak. I had been crying. I was like exhausted. So I literally laid on the cement and like rolled up in a ball. And I literally just like screamed. I was screaming and crying at the top of my lungs. At that point, like, he had just put me through so much mental horror. I couldn't take it. And I think I was screaming and crying so much because I was kind of hoping that like a neighbor would hear and come outside. I was so cold, I couldn't even move. Like, I couldn't walk somewhere else. Like, I didn't know what to do. I ended up passing out in the freezing cold. I don't even know how much time had passed, but I woke up to him like opening the front door. So he had to have come home, went in the house and saw that I was passed out, freezing to death on his front porch. And he let me in the house. I remember I was so cold, I was just like, I was broken. Like, I was like a shell of a human at this point after everything I had gone through. Honestly, that's probably one of the most traumatic nights of my life. For a really long time after that, it wasn't until actually kind of recently, I couldn't even bear to think about it. When I would think about it, I would go back to that moment, and it was too much. Like, I would have to block it out of my memory. I couldn't go there. Eventually started to be like, I'm so sorry, you know. I ended up staying there. And part of the reason why I couldn't leave, I had no strength. Like, I had no physical strength left. I couldn't even think. Like, I was numb and I was a shell of a person. There was no way. I didn't even have the energy to like get my keys and get in my car. I just like, I passed out. Parts of that part of the story, I don't remember. I really don't. I'm sure if I did some type of hypnotherapy, like, you know what I mean, it would come back. But when you go through trauma, you block a lot of it out. It was very shortly after that. There was one night where we got into another fight. He passed out on his couch. Now, I was such a psychopath at this point that I took his computer and I broke into everything. I broke into his email, broke into his Facebook, I broke into everything. Now, first of all, that's toxic. If you are in a relationship where either person feels the need to go through someone's phone or someone's computer, social media accounts, I'm sorry, there's no way to justify it. That's toxic behavior. That is not a healthy relationship. Now, here's where the story gets really scary, as if it's not already scary. And this is what I was talking about in the beginning of this video when I said that you are chosen. So I went through his email, and the first thing I found was conversations between him and sex workers on Craigslist. I knew that this guy was probably like a sex addict or had issues, you know? I started to do more digging. This is where things get really messed up. So I break into his Facebook. Now, I don't know if this is still true, or I haven't used Facebook on like a desktop, you know, the desktop site in so long, but at least at that point in time, if you went into somebody's search history, like let's say you went and searched me, it wouldn't just show my name. No, Facebook logs with a timestamp every single time and the date that you search for somebody's page. So let's say you look at my page 5 times in one day, it's gonna show that you looked at it at 9 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 4 p.m. There is no exaggeration when I tell this story. There must have been, I remember I had written it down, there must have been at minimum 20, 25 girls who I knew. Some I was kind of friends with, some I knew of. He was looking them up on Facebook from the moment he woke up until the moment he went to sleep. 6 a.m. he's looking at this girl. 6:30, you know, 6:30 he's looking at this girl. 6:35. I'm not even kidding. And it would be like 20, 25 girls at a time. As I'm going through the search history, I'm seeing he's been doing this the whole time we've been dating. Every single day. Most of those girls he was not friends with on Facebook. So he's going and looking at their pictures, spying to see what they're up to. Then started to see something that was even more messed up. This is very You. You know that show You? This is very You, whatever that guy's name is. Dan Humphries, Gossip Girl. Let's say that he went to lunch at Red Lobster. I don't know if he ever actually went there, but let's just say he went to lunch at Red Lobster. There would be a search on his Facebook that said Jessica Red Lobster with the town that the restaurant was in. Okay? Right underneath it, Jessica Red Lobster. Okay? Jessica, then the town. He would try every single word combination he could to try and find his waitress. I could see clear what was happening. He would go to a bar, he would meet a girl there, whether it was a waitress or a bartender. Here's the thing, This guy wasn't so cool that every girl just like wanted to be friends with him. No, this was like his waitresses that probably thought nothing of him. You know what I mean? She's at work doing her job. What she doesn't know is that this man's going home and typing in 50 different combinations of words with your first name to try and find you. Social media is scary. I'm shocked and I'm a little scared because now I'm like, this ain't normal. Like, we all stalk people on social media, you know? Who doesn't? Who doesn't go look at their crush? But this wasn't normal. So that was when this clicked in my mind. This person is a predator. So here we go. I go back to before, through his Facebook history, I go back to before the day we met. My worst nightmare. I see he had been searching me on Facebook for 1 to 2 years before we ever met in that grocery store. He had searched my ex-boyfriend. He searched me all the time. So what I realized was that when I met him in that grocery store that day and I didn't know who he was, he knew damn well who I was. I believe that we bumped into each other by chance at the grocery store. Yes, I do believe that. But I think he saw me. He knew who I was. He had been searching me on social media for the last 2 years consistently. And he, pretended like he didn't know who I was and he's going to introduce himself and we're going to go on a date. It makes me wonder how many things I told him about my life or whatever that he already kind of knew because he had been stalking me on social media for 2 years. It all clicked in my head. I know he's a narcissist at this point. He's a predator. I was one of the people he stalked, and I fell for it. I felt really stupid because there was me and about 30 plus other girls that he had stalked on social media. He got me. I woke up that night, ended up confronting him about it, and he actually told me that I was crazy because looking up a girl on Facebook was no different than how he really thinks sunsets are beautiful, so he'll Google pictures of sunsets just to look at them. He tried to tell me that what he was doing wasn't bad and that what I was doing was actually worse because I was friends with guys on Facebook. I told him, I was like, don't you find it a little creepy that you're looking up these girls that you're not even friends with on Facebook? Like, this is stalker shit. And he justified it by saying that what he was doing was normal and it was actually respectful because what I was doing was really slutty because I actually was friends with guys on Facebook. Now, you might be thinking I left. I didn't. What I did do, now after this happened and I realized, okay, this guy hires hookers all the time. He has been stalking me on social media for 2 years. He's a predator. He has a literal problem. This is Ted Bundy shit. I couldn't leave because I had nowhere to go. Okay, I had moved in at this point. I didn't know what to do. I really felt trapped. The whole perspective on this person changed. It really clicked in my head. There's something wrong with this guy, and there's been something wrong with him long before I came around. I was doomed. This is who he is. This is who he's been in the past. He's gonna be like this with the next girl. I gotta get out. I'm gonna come up with an exit strategy because I knew that leaving this relationship was gonna be scary, and he was gonna be psycho. I then decided what I've got to do is I've got to save money, be secretive. I have to find somewhere to live, find an apartment, and then one day when he's at work, pack up all my shit, go to my safe place, block him on everything, never go back. He still had me in this tricky space and I was still kind of afraid to leave, but I was like, I'm gonna get out now. Like, this is happening. I no longer am under your spell. And then what ended up happening was eventually one night, it was like 2 a.m. He was being a crazy gaslighting psychopath. And I finally reached this point mentally where I was like, if I don't leave right now, I will be driven to insanity. I had reached my breaking point. And in that moment, I felt so liberated because I was like, I'm leaving. It's 2 a.m. He's going crazy. I'm packing all my shit in garbage bags. I'm leaving. I will live in my car. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds like luxury compared to this. It just clicked. I was like, I'm done. I don't care. There's nothing he can say to keep me here. And I know for real this time that I'm never going back. What's so annoying about narcissists, especially his type, this like covert narcissist, he wasn't like physically abusive. Like it wasn't like that. It wasn't like he was scary in that sense. He was one of those people who I would be packing up my stuff and he was like laying on his bed like this, like, you're so psychotic. Oh my God. Normally that would drive me crazy, his like laughing, you know, and like gaslighting. But I was just like, this guy's a Looney Tune. Like what? It was like I finally saw the light. I was like, I'm free. I walked out. I immediately blocked him on Facebook in my car, in his driveway. Blocked him on Facebook, blocked him on Instagram, blocked him on everything. Before I could block his number, he sent a text, do you think you'll be back by Christmas? Because it was like 2 days before Christmas. Do you think you'll be back by Christmas? Actually, I ended up going to my dad's house, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, this is what's happening. This is the relationship I've been in. I have nowhere to go. I want to make a point here. I am so grateful that I had somewhere to go because I understand that there's a lot of people that don't have anywhere to go. I don't want that to come off the wrong way. I don't want people to think that I'm not so grateful that I had a safe place, because I am, but you know, I'm just telling my story. These are my circumstances, and thank you to the universe for having a safe place for me to go. This story would stop now, except he started to stalk me. He was texting me from like 15, I'm not exaggerating, texting me from 15 fake phone numbers, and I have my personal cell phone and I have a work phone. He was texting both phones at the same time from like 15 different fake numbers. I don't even know how he sent texts like that. Sitting outside of my house in his car. This was right after I left him, because I think what happened was I left him, you know what I mean? And I cut him off. I went no contact. You have to. I went no contact. And I think he finally, after a few days, realized like, oh shit, like she actually left me. Like I think he realized I wasn't coming back. He went crazy. So like a few days after I finally left, a friend of mine came to pick me up. We were gonna go out for a drink or to get dinner or something. He followed us because he was driving by my house and saw me get into my friend's car. He followed us directly behind us. I knew it was him. He followed us 20 minutes. We went to like a couple towns away to a restaurant. We thought we lost him at one point. We didn't. We sit down at the bar to like order dinner, and he sends me a text from one of his fake numbers being like, oh, it's so weird that you're here. I was actually coming here. He was contacting me from fake numbers, fake emails, and fake Instagrams. I would block one, 2 seconds later, there'd be a new one. I finally went to the police, and I went to the police, no joke, with like a stack this thick. I went and I printed out all of the text messages from all of the fake numbers, all the emails, all the everything. I was like highlighting certain things that I wanted the police to see. And I went there with this huge stack, and I was like, this is how girls get murdered. They ended up calling him. He conned the cop, you know. I warned the cops that he was a narcissist. The cop called me like, I think he really loved you. I was like, oh my goodness. I almost went and got like a restraining order, but the police actually were like, you know, if you try and take him to court, you're gonna give him time to prepare. And if he's the narcissist you say he is, he's gonna show up in his finest suit. He's gonna do his manipulation to the judge. And the cop was like, if I'm being honest, this is probably gonna turn into a he said, she said, and the judge is gonna throw it out. Which I have a problem with because, you know, this is how girls get murdered. Straight up. It's our system is broken. And I understand that like, a lot of people probably go to the police claiming that like their ex is crazy. I can only imagine how many times police have to deal with like domestic incidences that really don't ever turn into anything too crazy, you know what I mean? But I do think that like, you know, this is why girls get murdered. And this isn't only girls, you know, there's crazy women out there that murder men too. Eventually over time, he did leave me alone, probably because he found, you know, a new victim. I still to this day, probably, you know, if I'm being honest with myself, he probably stalks me from afar. Do I think he's sitting outside my apartment? No, but social media, I'm sure he has a fake account that he watches, especially now I have a YouTube channel, you know what I mean? Like when you go through a situation like this, you know, the narcissist, like I said, they're a con artist. They're really good at looking like you're the bad guy and they've done nothing wrong. This is why a lot of abuse victims and people who've gone through stuff like this, they don't say anything because you're put in a really shitty situation. There's a lot of victim blaming these days, and the narcissist does such a phenomenal job of painting themselves as this stand-up member of society. It's really easy for them to make people think that you are the crazy one. And it's not fair and it sucks, but that's kind of why, I'm sharing this story. We need to speak up about this stuff. We need to talk about this stuff. And maybe not everybody's gonna get on a YouTube channel and YouTube video and talk about it, but I will. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of that guy. And here's the thing. I am legitimately grateful for that experience, because here's why. When you finally free yourself and you get out of a narcissistic relationship, you are literally a different person. You reemerge, you rise like the phoenix. First of all, that relationship alone gave me a PhD in psychology. That relationship alone gave me an intuition that is just so on point. I can see through anyone. You can't manipulate me. I see straight through you. And anyone who's been through one of these situations and comes out on the other side, you know what I mean. Narcissists go for people who are incredibly worthy but don't see it. It ended up awakening me to how powerful I am, how strong I am. If I could walk away and get myself out of that relationship, I could do anything. I've seen red flags in people since that relationship, and I don't fall for it anymore. I can recognize pure intentions, and I can recognize manipulation. It's very obvious to me now. I do want to say, though, that when you free yourself from a narcissistic, abusive, toxic, manipulative relationship, it's a process of healing. There's a lot of trauma that you're left with. It takes time. Some people need therapy, it takes a lot of healing and a lot of finding yourself again and learning to love yourself. You will love again. I am now in a relationship with the most incredible man who I didn't even think existed. He's the complete opposite of a narcissist. You know what I mean? He's genuine. He has pure intentions. He doesn't lie. He doesn't cheat. He builds me up. He supports me. I called him before I made this video to ask if I had his support, and he was like, of course. I always support whatever you do. You know what I mean? When I was dating the narcissist, I wouldn't have ever been allowed to have a YouTube channel. I wouldn't have been allowed. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't have even considered it, because I would have just been bullied by him. I wouldn't have been allowed to. It would have been too much for his ego to handle. There is life and hope after narcissism. There is. You can heal. You will heal. And you will find love again. It's not your fault. These people are manipulative and toxic, and they're very strategic. This is a game to them, okay? They know what they're doing. It's very sinister what they do. I just hope that anyone who is in a situation like this, I hope that you have that moment that I had where I finally was like, I'm free. I'm leaving. That's really difficult for a lot of people. By the time I went no contact, I was so over it. You know what I mean? I had this revelation, this epiphany. My eyes were open, but it's not easy. It's really not easy. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up now. This is probably really long. I hope that this helped someone out there. I hope that you just find hope in this video. So my heart goes out to anyone who's in a situation like this, or someone who is healing from a situation like this. Take me as an example that you can come out on the other side, and you can live a normal life one day, and you can have boundaries and not be controlled, and you can find people who love you for real. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up for me. Subscribe if you guys have not already joined the family. Thank you guys so much for sitting here and listening through the end. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I'm sending all of my love out to you guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.